happening, people? Welcome to another episode of Giants Rush, where we talk about the Giants 52 weeks of the year. Hope you guys are having a great Monday. We got a good show. We got Shaun Morash from WFAN popping in around 8:15, 8:20. So we're going to get to him. I got Spartan. I got Truth coming on. As always, let you guys know, brought to you by the Chuck app. If you guys have not checked out the Chuck app, it aggregates all your sports in one location. So you can basically just pop on the Chuck app and read the daily news, and you can read the Post, and you can read Rush, and you can read Sports Illustrated, whatever you want, all in one place. And of course, it has daily trivia called Chuckle, which if you want to jump in and play, you can play against me. Shawnee B's always in there playing. Joe's always in there playing. So hopefully you will get involved and show me how good you are at sports trivia. All right, Giants lose 30-12 last week. A lot of painful things to talk about. We're going to try to find a silver lining if there is one. Let's bring in the boys. Bow. Truth.
What's up?
You know what's up. We got our butts whooped.
I'm not a very happy person right now.
No. It's definitely a letdown where we are right now. Let's bring in Spartan, because I know Spartan's like ready to jump off the roof of his building.
What's going on, guys?
How you feeling, Spartan? I mean, like, big letdown this past week.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think a lot of fans were talking about in the offseason. I mean, did we expect to be a team to start 3-0 against the schedule we had? Probably not. But, the bottom line expectation for the Giants is to be competitive at the very least with the Cowboys and the 49ers. And here we are looking like we have regressed compared to last year. Yeah,
great point. So, all right, folks, I see you guys piling in the room. I'm going to make sure I say hello to all you folks. I see Cold. He said, did Mush get married yet? No.
This Saturday.
Yes.
Woo!
Saturday. He's even leaving us tonight early to do some wedding stuff. That whip is cracking, and he's got some stuff to do. I see Joe, I see Darius, I see Chris Peace, who, by the way, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Peace got married in the last 2 or 3 weeks, and what an awesome way, get married on the beach. Everybody,
the Giants here, right?
Yes, and his best men all had on their, I guess, their favorite teams.
Loved it.
So congrats to Mr. Peace. Appreciate you along for the ride. I see Joe. I see YouTuber user. Hi, YouTube user. You might want to check out. Yeah, you may want to put your name in there so we know how to address you. But thanks for tuning in. A lot to talk about. Shaun Morash from FAN coming up here in 10-15 minutes or so. So guys, I'm gonna go defense. Right, we're gonna talk a little bit about defense. Maybe we'll take some questions from the folks in the chat room. So we all thought, it's me, Greg. Oh, Greg, what's up, Greg? What's up? We all thought that we were going to have a top 10, top 15 type of defense. So Spartan, I'm gonna tell you what I see, and then you're going to tell me what you see.
Sure.
So I see a defense that's confused. I see a defense that has lost its tenacity. We cannot tackle, and for years, I used to crow about guys like Blake Martinez and John Beeson, all the way to Antonio Pearson back, that stopping the run made a huge difference. And everyone was like, nah, we don't need to stop the run. Screw Blake Martinez. He sucks. All this stuff. And the minute we don't have an inside linebacker, we get gashed. We go out and we spend all this money on Okereke, and he looks like he's struggling in the defense, at least watching the game. It could be something else, but it looks from the eye test that he's struggling in this defense. Would you agree with that? That you're not seeing that impactful linebacker we thought we were getting?
Yeah, I mean, because the idea here out of him was that we were going to get somebody to stop the run, and I haven't seen that yet.
Now he did have a better game against the 49ers. Again, we lose 30-12. We're on the field a lot, Spartan. He had 9 tackles, but no tackles for a loss, no sacks, no forced fumbles. It was still
he's not having that 2020 Blake Martinez year, right? I mean, that's kind of what we were hoping for, like an immediate impact guy that's delivering a lot of value. He's playing okay football. Like, he's not, it's not like he's getting dragged around. It's just not really that effective impact.
Yeah. And truth, same thing like Adam McKinney. I don't know what's up with McKinney because we really all know this cat can play football, right? But like he's either getting run over by a backup quarterback for a touchdown. We're not seeing like, the picks, the tackles, like, and I've tweeted it out, like, teams aren't invested in guys tackling anymore. But the teams that are, you notice the difference, right? What are you seeing out of McKinney that you weren't seeing that you saw like, in past years? And I know it's not just a McKinney thing, but he just seems to me like a player that's just not living up to his potential for some crazy reason.
Yeah, I mean, when he got drafted, I made a bold statement that he could be a Pro Bowler. And after his second year, that looked like that could be the case, but he just digressed after that, his second year, and he just doesn't look like. And we talked about this off air. To me, I relate the tackling and the passion of tackling as giving, caring. And when I see these guys not tackling, just trying to grab the ball, just trying to give a shoulder, not grabbing, wrapping their arms, driving to the guy, to me that shows they don't care, or that's a hard way of showing it, or they just don't want to give the effort. I mean, right. I'm sure a lot of ex-NFL players back in the days, Craig, when we watched a lot of football when we were younger, they must be rolling in their eyes to watch the guys how they tackle nowadays, because it's really pathetic to me. It really is.
And Peter's got a good point, that they're all looking for turnovers instead of form tackling. Like they're all looking for the big play. Well, because the Giants don't have any turnovers right now.
That's right. So it's not working. Don't do it. Stop it.
Well, that's what I wanted to bring up. That was the most critical thing I really wanted to talk about tonight with the tackling is when they go in for the tackle, the number one focus there is punching that ball. Like, have you guys noticed that's all that they seem to be trying to do? They'll get dragged for 5 years, but they'll be on the back of their collars trying to like punch up at the ball. And it's like, guys, if you stop them on 3rd and 6, you're in a better position than if you forced a fumble and you're already at the 40-yard line, your own 40-yard line. Like just get the tackle. And I don't know. I think what's most disappointing is that this is coming from a Wink defense, and I wouldn't have expected that from an old school guy.
Yeah. I remember there was if you guys remember James Harrison from the Steelers.
Yeah.
He made a comment. It was in like Men's Journal or something like that, or it might have been ESPN, but there was what's that?
Never mind. Go ahead. Sorry.
It was a huge article that was written by James Harrison, and his statement was, and I don't want to misquote the guy, I'm just paraphrasing it to be that, hey, if I tackle a guy down low, a guy winds up with an ACL. If we tackle up top, it's 2-week concussion protocol, and then he's back playing. And I thought that kind of like went away for a while, right? But now there's no tackling low. There's no form tackling. Guys are getting dragged 5, 6, 7 yards, and it's like the amazing thing is it doesn't give running backs any more value. You're not like, man, that guy's carrying a lot of guys. Running backs are still thought of as an afterthought. So I can't see it working to anyone's advantage. Like, the running backs aren't getting more props for running through guys. And these very capable linebackers and safeties, like Truth said, I thought McKinney would be a multi-Pro Bowler by now.
Yeah, we figured.
And they just don't come up and make the tackle. They come up and hang on the shoulder pads. That's got to be top down. Like, even though the players do it, Dable and Wink are the ones that have to be putting up with it.
That's right. And you know what? I have no problem with a second, third, or fourth guy going for the ball.
Gang tackle.
The first guy has to grab on, and then that's how we were taught. When the official tackle, the other guys, when you have a gang tackle, then you go for the ball. Not everybody going for the ball. It just looks pathetic.
But let's just call it what it is. It's unacceptable.
Yeah.
Like if you want to be a playoff team, you got to have I'm looking in the comments. Somebody said something about where's the dog. Darius says it here. Our defense, where's the dog mentality? Here it is right here. Where's the dog mentality? X-Man, Dory, Leo, all of them in their contracts years, and they need to ball out. I mean, like, it's true. Like, it's unacceptable. The play that you're getting, it's half freaking ass.
It doesn't seem like they seem to have lost a mojo there. And I tweeted the other day, there's something missing. I retweeted somebody. I got a lot of crap for it. It's like, well, duh, winning's missing. It's like, no, guys, something like truly seems to be missing before that. I don't know what it is. You look at the look on these guys on the field, and they just don't have like this fire that I would have expected.
All right, well, let's reverse that though. There were three guys, like there were a couple guys that like you could see wanted to play. One was McFadden. I tried to tell everybody I took a lot of heat because they said he missed a bunch of tackles in the Arizona game. He had 10 tackles. And guess what? 4 tackles for a loss. I mean, from the inside linebacker spot. Like the kid is punching above his weight, right? Pinnock is punching above his weight, right? Leonard Williams had a great game. 6 tackles, half a sack, 2 QB hits. Like there are guys that are, I don't want to say they're balling out, but McFadden balled out. But like they're making plays, but it's not enough.
He looks like he's trying, right? He looks like he cares. He looks like he's passionate. He looks like he's trying to get better. Perfect. There's still some things he's got to tweak in the game, but that's the fire that I expect out of everybody. And I only saw it with him.
Yeah, Chris has got a good point. Everyone's trying to play hero. I'll pop this up on here for Chris. Like everyone's trying to make the big play. Everybody's the hero. Like there's thanks, Chris. It's a great point. Like, it's just Peter said that Banks was talking about the Wolfpack mentality. Like it's gone, and I don't know where it went.
Because we had it last year.
We had it last year, and
it's got to be from coaching. It has to be. Don't you think coaching? Wouldn't you say something in your meetings when you see this on film? This poor tackling?
Evidently, truth, there's something just that's not there. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's just not there. Like, there's, again, and then, we can go player by player, which we don't have to. But I got 2 things I wanted to talk about. One is the Leonard Williams play. When are we going to get this right, that the 300-pound lineman in mid-step is not going to be able to lay off the quarterback, right? I mean, like, I wanted to ask you guys. I wanted to turn it back to you. And, hey, Sarah, I see you popping in the room. Hey, Mark B, see you popping in. Like, Leonard Williams had a great game, good bounce-back game. And then you take away his aggression because he makes a great play on Purdy, and he gets an unnecessary roughness penalty. Like, Spartan, what did you think about the call?
That was the slighted, like, that is the most difficult play where I've ever had. I feel like I've had to make a judgment about it. I mean, did he hit the guy after he threw the ball? Yes, but I mean, there quite literally was no way to stop himself. So I guess it's up to the refs as to how they want to call that. I mean, in my opinion, it's like, what do you expect? He can't let up. He's got to keep going, and there's literally nothing that he could have done to stop himself. But does that make it not roughing the passer? I don't know. I guess the ball was out, but again, I don't know. I honest to God, I can say I have no idea, and I wish I could tell you.
What's your thought?
Well, I can tell you that, in my opinion, when you have a man that big and he had a clear shot, and Purdy released that ball, and he might have been a half a step on him. I don't know how, anybody, even us running full speed, can stop that quickly and avoid him. And it's not like he led with his crown and his helmet into his face mask. It's not like when he tackled him, he tried to really pile drive him in the ground, just fell on him.
It was a clean hit.
Yeah, I think it was a clean hit. And look, I understand we need to protect the quarterback. I get it because they're the marquee players and they usually bring in the crowds. I get it, but this is football. You got to let these guys play at some point.
And it's right. It's not fair at a third down call. I mean, the bottom line.
Yeah, and I would say the same thing if that was a hit on Jones. I really would. I'm not being a Giant fan here. I'm being a football fan. And I just think that's, sometimes they're leaving too much to the refs. I don't know.
Well, what gets me is how does Leonard Williams doesn't know he doesn't have the ball, right? I mean, like Leonard Williams is a half a step off. He's going for the tackle. He's going to make a play. He has no idea if Purdy brought that ball down or not. He has no idea.
Yeah, what if he brought it back in and he stops and then Purdy runs around him for a 10-yard gain? I just think that happened a long time ago to a Giant against I forgot who it was. It was a quarterback, and he held up on him, and the guy
it was Kunuka.
Right. That's right, Matthias. Yeah, and he held up.
We
on it.
interviewed, by the way, so be careful. We need to get him back on the show.
No, it wasn't his fault. It wasn't his fault. That's my point. It
Right.
wasn't his fault. You took the football player out of him in that play. You gotta let these guys play. You have to.
Right.
Well, one, we thank everybody for popping in. I see you guys coming in the rooms. Tell your friends to drop in. We need some commentary. Shaun Morash is going to be here from WFAN any minute now. We're talking about the defense because the offense we're going to get in with Shaun because there's a ton of things to talk about. So I'm kind of just using this segment as a little bit of the defensive section. And we can always circle back. Wanted to talk about Tibbs. Took a lot of heat for my stance on Tibbs. Here we are.
What was your stance?
My stance is that he's just not performing the way we know he can.
Why would
And-
you heat from that?
He's not a finisher right now. That's what I told Spartan.
What's that?
He's not a finisher.
Yeah.
He needs to learn to be a finisher.
I took the stance, like Michael just said, as the finisher. And when I mean finish is that, okay, if in this defense, because Carl also took, to his podcast with saying, hey, you guys don't know what he's being asked to do. That's fine. I'm pretty sure he's asked to be a playmaker. So, being the 5th pick in the draft, right? So that's forcing fumbles, quarterback hits, that's pressures, that's, fumble recoveries, that's tackles. Here we are, game 3. He has a total of 7 tackles, 1 sack. Here's where it gets interesting. His 2022 output was 49 tackles and 4 sacks. His 2023 projection is 40 tackles and 7.5 and 5.5 sacks. So from year to year, he'll go down 10 tackles, he'll go up a sack. Like, how is that at all what he was brought here to do?
Well, I say that too. Like, are we not? When Carl says that, I got to be respectful. Carl played football. We had him on the show. When he says that we don't know what he's brought here to do, it's like, yeah, but Carl, we're watching him out there play football on the edge against tackles. We're watching these plays where he's not executing.
Well, Carl, let's be fair. Carl said we don't know as spectators what they're asking him to do, not what he was brought here to do, what they're asking him to do. And in Tibbs' defense, sometimes they're dropping him in pass coverage.
That's true. That's absolutely true, which is stupid.
Yeah. Like, the guy's supposed to be a disruptor, a playmaker, and some of it seems like he doesn't give a crap. And some, Peter also has a comment, says that, I'll pop this up on here just so you guys can see it. Carl said that Tibbs doesn't use his hands with violence, and that has to change. Like, yeah, I mean,
yeah.
He's just not wrecking people. He's not. You don't see a swim move. You don't see these rips.
Yeah, he's limited with his moves. You're right.
He doesn't throw the tackles off balance either. He does not do that one bit.
No, you know what I mean? You're not seeing him dip a shoulder, coming back outside. And again, it bothers me because we know the dude has immense talent. Why isn't anybody working with him? Like, they're just throwing him back out there. Great point by Cold. Cold says you don't pick a guy at 5 to have him dropping back in coverage. Like, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, unless he's a corner.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, unless we got Sauce Gardner, but we didn't.
No. So again, like I'm just, my thing is that I expected more out of him from a playmaking standpoint. And some people, I want the finisher. Truth wants the finisher, right? Mike, you want the finisher. But if he's not going to finish, then knock balls down, hit the quarterback. I want to see 5 to 6 tackles a game, right? So,
yes.
So I'm struggling a little bit with Tibbs. And by the way, thanks for watching another episode of Giants Rush. Yeah. We appreciate you guys tuning in, hanging out. Tell your friends. Housekeeping stuff, guys. Hey, look, I know you guys are all following us on Twitter, but who knows where Twitter goes? It's supposed to become a paid app, and who knows what's going to go on.
Yeah.
Do us a solid, and make sure you're following us on Instagram, which is NYGIANTS_rush. Make sure all these are great comments. Make sure you drop a couple comments in YouTube. That helps out with the algorithm. There. So just, we're on Threads too. So if you get a chance, just follow us there. Tell your friends, so we can keep doing what we do. But so, yeah, let's even go a next step here. Spartan, Simmons, like they bring him here we're all way excited, right? We're like, this cat, was just frankly going to be a world changer.
Yeah.
He played 23 snaps this past, 23 snaps. That's 28% of the offense, the defensive snaps. So why aren't we seeing a ton of Simmons?
That's a great question.
I'm not sure. And look, I mean, Wink, if this was last year, I would have kind of trusted Wink in his decision-making with this. I think he's an explosive player. I think he brings the right attitude to the Giants. But right now, I mean, I don't trust any of the decisions Wink's making. I don't know if Wink was sleeping the entire offseason. Why would you not have Simmons in there? He looks to be a lot better than a lot of the guys that we're putting in cover. Now, granted, sometimes we're running some schemes where we don't really, if it's a nickel package, we don't really have, linebackers back there, but or at least middle linebackers, but still, I would expect to see him more.
And I don't know if he's, in truth, I don't know if he's even slotted as an inside linebacker, because because he's also dropping into coverage and stuff like that. He seems to be and Arizona had him playing safety, so he plays in space. I don't even know if he would be deemed an inside linebacker. He seems like he can play more outside.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not here, first of all, to say I know more than Wink Martindale, which I certainly don't.
No one is. But
I know, but just common sense for me watching this, and Spot and I talked about it last week when they were play the Cardinals. I really, really thought that Wink should already sit down and have about at least a dozen plays just for Simmons. This is what I want this kid to do on these situations, these plays, because this is what he does well. And I don't see that when I watch the game. I'm trying to see if he's doing that. I'm not seeing it. Maybe I'm missing something, but I'm not seeing that.
Ain't it either.
And Peter's like, I'm talking to him about not being an inside linebacker. He's a hybrid type of player, right? He could play multi-position, so he's a weapon.
That's fine with me. Yes.
Yeah.
That's fine with
traded for him. He's a weapon. Why isn't he in on stunt packages? Why don't I see him picking up the middle? Why don't I see him doing stuff? Hey, but listen, it doesn't stop there. Belton, who we all really liked what he did earlier in the season, he got
one snap.
One snap.
Crazy.
Boy, I guess he's in the doghouse.
Yeah, who knows what the hell the problem is there? I don't what in the world.
Listen, we interviewed Dane. Dane's a good dude.
Great guy.
And there's something else going on.
He looked promising though. He looked promising as a player and attitude wise. I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, so there's definitely again a theme to the defense of just seeming like they're not again, we all love Okereke. He doesn't seem to be grasping this defense. He's never in the right spot. You know what I mean? And then because again, yes, he had a decent game against the 49ers. No doubt.
He did, but collectively as a whole, defense was, in my mind, pathetic. I hate to be like that. I'm usually Mr. Positive, but I just didn't see it. They looked like they didn't want to be there.
There's some good stuff in the comments I'm getting from guys like Chris D says, Belton's our only real ball hawk. And you know what, Chris D, you're 100% right now because we don't know what's going on with McKinney. Again, and the thing that kills me is that we know McKinney can ball. So what's the confusion? What has changed? And then Peace jumps in here with that Simmons already admitted he likes rushing the passer. So, hey, maybe we should let him rush the passer.
It.
Yeah. So there definitely seems from a defensive standpoint.
Listen, this game, I'm sorry. This game is such about passion and emotion. And if you don't have it on the football field, it's not like I play golf. That's totally different animal. Football, you got to have emotion. You got to have that little bit of rage going on.
Yeah,
and I don't see it.
I can go all the way back to the statement. I think maybe Darius made it. I'll go if I can scroll all the way back. Yeah, it was Darius. I'll put it up here again. Where's the dog mentality? When you watch Pittsburgh's defense, those cats are getting after it. You know what I mean? When you watch Kansas City, these cats are getting after it. You see these guys. Look, I watched the Steelers game the other night, and I watched TJ Watt, and I was amazed.
He looked fast, didn't he? Didn't he look quick on the field?
Oh my God, fat, fast is an understatement. He's dipping and ripping.
Yeah.
He's rolling on the inside, hitting the QB, knocking the ball down, sacking the guy. Hey, look, Cold was saying earlier in the week, man, he's like, or maybe it was earlier today, that like he keeps seeing guys getting drafted that can really rush the passer. The most recently is Aiden Hutchinson. Just, he broke some record, in the first whatever.
Interceptions and sacks, I believe it is, right?
Yeah. Like the dude's got 3 interceptions already. So, my man of the hour is here. Let's bring in Mr. Shaun Morash from WFAN. Shaun, what's up, Shaun?
What's happening, Shaun?
Boys, what is up? What is up? How is everybody doing?
Well, we know what's up.
Doing good.
So we figured we were going to leave the offense to you. We chewed up the defense. I'm going to recap what happened. We talked about how there's no dog mentality on this team, right? Like
nobody makes a play, Craig.
Nobody makes a play. We were just saying, like, just last year you had this dog mentality that something happened. Okereke seems lost, right? McKinney's not the same player. He's got backup QBs running him over, right? I went to snap count. Belton, who we had a lot of hope for, 1 snap.
Yeah, where's Dane Belton in this defense playing deep? Absolutely right.
Right? Simmons had 23 snaps, but like, why aren't they using him to rush the passer or twist? Why aren't they getting him involved? Then we looked at Tibbs and we're like, so this one hurts because his 2022 progression, Shaun, was he had 49 tackles last year and 4 sacks. This year he's projected to have 40 tackles, 10 less tackles, and only 5 sacks. Like, what happened, Shaun, from last year to this year?
Oh, I mean, first of all, look, I hate to say this, there is a lot of football left. I overall make this more than pinpointing one player. Wink Martindale, for some reason, is getting away from a lot of what he did last year. And I think partially he is extremely nervous about the Deonte Banks and Trey Hawkins and putting his corners on an island and sending blitzes to create pressure, which is a big issue. Number 2, I mean, we've almost grown to accept that Azeez Ojulari is never going to be healthy. But it's a pretty big freaking deal not having Azeez Ojulari out there because he creates so much pressure on his own. And that's not absolving Kayvon Thibodeau when you're taking 5th overall. Yep. But, I mean, just look around. I mean, whether, it's Highsmith to go along with Watt in Pittsburgh, there's always these number 2 pass rushers on all of these teams. And the Giants are getting a net 0 on the other end of pass rush. So Kayvon Thibodeau, I was going over this with Tiki, like, he is facing double teams, or teams are just blatantly running away from him, rolling their pocket away. Now, maybe Kayvon Thibodeau also needs to fight through some of that, both mentally and physically, if it starts to take him out of a play or something. Yep. But they need Azeez Ojulari on the field. And if we're going to go through another year where he's basically not hurting at all, I mean, I'm sorry, I hate to already look ahead to the draft, but pass rush has to be top of mind in the first round again next year. They just have a net 0 at pass rush. They need somebody other than Kayvon to step up as an edge.
Yeah.
1,000% correct, because like I always said, look, I've never seen anybody bend like Ojulari. I mean,
he's got so much OC in him when he's on the field. No doubt.
100%. So you start asking yourself, like, look, if he's on the field, he still has it, right? He played 7 games, had 5 sacks last year. But if you can't depend on him, pass rush now becomes, pushed up the chart. And in fact, Spartan and I were just talking about the fact that, like, we don't want to kill Tibbs because Banks was making a point that, hey, as fans, we don't know what he's being asked to do, right?
And that's true too.
Because
and Craig, real quick, man, that illegal contact spoke it all. He's a pass rusher. Let him rush the passer. I know Wink's defense gets cute. It's what he's there to do. I mean, he got an illegal contact penalty. Why is he covering anybody? I know that, every with depth and defensive schemes, play to his strength. The more snaps he's not rushing the passer, I mean, the more it's a detriment to the team. And then, of course, his pass rush stat's going to be reduced if he's not getting a crack to go after the passer on every single passing down.
Spartan, how many times have we seen him in pass coverage and we're like, what's happening right now?
Well, so many times on the replay, it's like you watch this pass coverage, and just like you said, Shaun, I mean, it worked to our detriment. Why? Not only is he not good at dropping the coverage, he's in a situation now where he's going to get a penalty because he's not really used to be, like, his skill set's not to be back there.
Disruptor. You pick a guy at 5, he tackles, forced fumbles, interceptions, hitting the quarterback pressures. And instead, like, we're making excuses. And it's like, what happened to this dog mentality defense? I'm like, I can't figure it out.
Remember, though, guys, what got Wink Martindale out of Baltimore at the end? He had to play that season where all his corners got hurt. And then suddenly his defense went, because he had to change who he was.
Yeah.
I really am worried about the rookie corner thing. I think it's in Wink Martindale's head that he doesn't have any trust in his corners, and he's getting a little too kooky and not playing to everybody's strengths. I hope that he's a smart enough coach. I kind of trust that he's a smart enough coach. And I think the pseudo bye this week sort of helps that. I think that they will figure this out and get better on D, but it does scare me. I mean, we've seen Wink Martindale with corners that aren't ready before in Baltimore. It ended him there.
Well, I'm going to put a bow on it. Right before you got on, we were kind of going through some of the players. I just want to toss this one to you because the one that gets me going. I have season tickets. I'm there, every week. Mike and Truth will both tell you, I love a middle linebacker. You know what I mean? Like, and I've always been sitting here going, we haven't had a middle.
Don't we love it? Right.
Exactly. And we haven't had one since Antonio Pierce. And then we get out, we sign Okereke, and I'm like, this cat's going to be all over the field. He looks a little uncomfortable with the defense. Any thought to like what you're seeing? Because he's never in the right spot.
No, I mean, I guess that's true. I mean, he was much better in Arizona, I thought, in the second half. I thought he was a big part of why they finally started shutting down. He definitely hasn't been as advertised, but if I'm ordering like the list of 10 guys in the defense who've absolutely pissed me off this year, Bobby Okereke is sort of at the bottom of that list. Like, I'm way more mad at Xavier McKinney. I'm not as mad at Adoree Jackson, but partially. Like, I'm sorry, you're being asked to play nickel corner. It finally played well versus San Francisco. Kayvon, Leonard Williams, I feel like has been basically a zero at times.
Wait, he had a decent game though, Shaun. I mean, so
I know. You know what though? Here's the thing, and I love Dexy too. Dexter Lawrence and Leonard Williams, in theory, should be the best combo interior defensive front in football.
Agreed.
And I know that they're playing well. Have they wrecked any of these 3 games so far?
No.
I mean, have you felt any? With all due respect, it's almost like we're afraid to criticize Dexter Lawrence too, because apparently he wrecked things on Dallas or whatever. But I mean, we are not seeing Leonard Williams and Dexter Lawrence actually wreck games, and they're also being paid to wreck games.
What's the total pay cap of those two alone? It's like $50 million, right?
Yeah, exactly. The combo of those two, it's almost like we're afraid to criticize Dexter Lawrence because we love him, and he's done things well. He's not playing terrible. But again, both of those guys together, when you're, accumulating that much cap, I have a bigger issue with them so far than Okereke. They're not wrecking games. So,
Truth, you and I are the elder statements here in the room. I think Truth and I will agree. The interesting thing is, think how the team is built. You built it from the inside out. It's usually built the outside in. Like, there's no pass rush, right? No, you don't have Ojulari. Tibbs isn't there. Ward has not shown up at all. It should he should be wearing the number 0. Him and Parrish should swap numbers.
Right. Aaron Rodgers might have been right. I don't even know who you are. Right. Exactly.
Boom. That's great, because that's what it feels like. Because we're depending on 2 defensive tackles to make plays. And listen, let's face it. Those guys are double teamed. They're chipped every single play by tight ends. Like, it's hard for D tackles to make and break games. Your outside guys are usually where they're the playmakers, and we've got nothing. So what do? We focus in on the 2 middle guys.
Yeah.
And like, at the end of the day, how much can they really do if there's nothing coming from the outside?
Look, I totally agree. This is why it's broken everywhere right now, and I hope they get it together. I'm just saying, when you're paid that way, we saw way more plays made by those guys at this time last year already. And I know they faced some good offensive lines here to start the year. They need to step this up big time. Totally.
Okay. Let's painfully talk about this offense, because I
was on a nice train ride home trying to get de-agitated from the day. I had to deal with Jet nonsense all day on the fan, and now you're going to get me all revved up on the Giant offense.
You might need a cocktail. You might need a couple cocktails while you sit here.
One, we love your work. We love what you do. We appreciate, because I grew up in North Jersey.
All right.
Okay, and I grew up with the fan, and now I live in South Jersey. I'm outside of Philly, and I'm in between that and the beach. But I've had an issue with the fan that it's been a shill for the Mets and the Jets for so long.
Why do you think I was hired?
You don't understand. You are a welcomed. I'm like, if Morash is on, I'm listening, because I can't stand to do the Jet Mets thing.
Thank you. That's very kind of you. I mean, I was half kidding when I said that, but that is very kind of you. You should see plenty of the Jet and Met fans in my mentions. It's not pretty, but yes, I am here for Yankee Giant stuff, of course.
I love it. And listen, so it goes a long way. So I apologize in advance. One, thanks for hanging out with us, but I'm going to maybe get you revved up, but you do it well. I mean, listen, you're outside Yankee Stadium screaming in the parking lot. Like, you're good for this.
Rodon sucks. Right. Yeah, thank you.
You're built for this. I can't take credit for what I'm about to say. So I need to give the guy credit. Truth, if you haven't seen it, Spartan, if you haven't seen it, make sure you're YouTubing Chad Johnson and Shannon Sharp this week.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Because I will tell you,
By the way,
absolutely.
As you make your point, I'm eating a meatball hero, but go on.
Oh my God, I'm jealous right now.
That looks delicious.
I know. I'm like, all right, you guys do the show. I gotta go get something to eat.
Oh, keep going.
Chad Johnson was so good this week. I can't take credit for it at all, but I'm going to tell you what he said. All right. He said that the Giants' issue stems from having not just like, an average or above average quarterback. The scheme, he's like, and he really got in depth about it, guys. He said, watch what happens. The 49ers actually begged the Giants to beat them, okay, and went man coverage. And even with the speed, they couldn't create enough space for Jones to make plays. So he's basically saying, like, every third down, they just went man because there was nothing downfield. Now, think about this. Ready? I said this to Truth before. They had 137 yards passing and only 50 offensive plays.
Yeah.
50. So it's all they did was throw like dump passes, check downs, and outs. Take it a step further, Breida had, 4 attempts. So they didn't run the ball. And Chad Johnson saying, look, man, they have some speed, but they didn't take any shots downfield. Hyatt had 15 snaps, and he had 1 target. Why is he on the field?
Well, I mean, on that point, Greg, this is one thing that's bothered me big time. All right. I get not trusting the offensive line versus the defensive front, right? Like the San Francisco 49ers. At some point, though, I've seen the Minnesota Vikings play with their third string left tackle and have Kirk Cousins stand back there and throw balls up to Justin Jefferson.
Yep.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think the O-line's a major problem. Clearly, he's getting pressured a ton. But at some point, you got to stop being worried about an interception down the field and let him stand back there and whip it when you've added guys like Waller and Hyatt. It's the fact of the matter. They are not trusting their offensive line, and they need to trust it a little bit and live with the problems and the mistakes if they are to happen. Now, that being said, somebody could break a tackle on this team too. I know they're just in Paris Campbell's grill and Wan'Dale Robinson's grill, but I mean, the 49ers could throw a screen pass to 3rd and 15 to Deebo Samuel, and he takes off for freaking 30 yards. Or, an erratic pass to George Kittle. He makes an unbelievable pass and catch and breaks a tackle. Like, they had more yards after the catch the 49ers did than the Giants did total. Nobody on this team makes a play after they get the ball. And I get it, right? The Niners are living up on it, but it's a problem. And also on Jalen Hyatt. He's obviously brought in for speed and to go run those deep routes like we saw versus Arizona. That's great. And it reminds me of Plaxico Burress going when the Giants had him going good, even some Victor Cruz. But is the guy not capable of running like a quick 5-yard slant like Odell and hoping he catches it and, use his speed that way? Like, there are other ways to utilize guys with speed than just hoping plays materialize. And It's kind of stunning for me, the creativity that's supposed to come from both Dable and Kafka, that it's almost like they're just stuck in the traditional, okay, he's a deep guy, he's got to go deep. No.
Yeah, right.
Get the speed on the field
Perfect
and use it different ways. Get the ball in his hands like Debo, like Odell. Like, that's a way to do it.
And that's
Greg, we talked about this last week. This is one of the biggest issues that we brought up, right? Like, there's ways to make quicker plays if you don't really trust the amount of time you're going to get from your offensive line. And it doesn't have to be, crappy dump offs. It is the leverage of the screen. It is the leverage of these outs, little fakes and everything like that. The Giants don't do this. I've seen other teams do it before and create big plays on quicker time plays, if you will. And it's frustrating to watch this offense just rely on these curl routes, quick slants. And I don't even think it's safe. They're trying to play conservative, but if one of those balls gets intercepted, it's going to the house. And we saw that against Dallas.
And defenses, you're just sitting on it. Like you mentioned with the Niners, they're just sitting on it. So even your short stuff, everything is being anticipated here. There's different ways to run short routes to make your speed, put your speed in a position where they can get yards after a catch.
Yeah. And that's what Johnson was saying. He's like, for the love of God, don't line up 3 guys and send them downfield. You got to have crossing routes. You got to have rollouts. You got to run screens. He's like, you've got to create space for these Giants wide receivers because he called it muscle up. You can't, Giants receivers don't muscle up. They don't just go beat the guy in front of them, right? And then they don't let Jones just throw the ball. Like, it's like you look at the schematic of where the passes were, everything was just out in the perimeter off the hash, nothing downfield. So, of course, they're not going to respect it because you haven't gone downfield. Now, that may come into play that you have 48 hours to prepare, but Kafka either needs to get his ass in gear and use the weapons and say, if Jones throws a pick, he throws a pick.
Right.
Who cares? Like, you need to take chances.
Right. He's thrown 3 picks with, receivers just dropping balls on shorter routes anyway. So what the heck's the difference?
Yep. Now, Truth, here's the thing I want to ask you and jump in here. This team completely 180 from the week before because of one reason they fall apart. They don't know what to do when Barkley's not on the field. It seems apparent, whether that's factual from a defensive standpoint, but the team, the Giants, the game plan is we don't have Barkley. Oh, crap, what we do. We know Breida can catch the ball out of the backfield. We know Breida can still run. He had 4 attempts, right? Slayton, 3 for 32, great. Brightwell, 2 for 21. Like, where are the playmakers, Truth? Why is it when Barkley's not there, Truth, does it all fall apart?
I don't know, man. You got to play within your system, not because of a player. That's how I feel. I mean, they gotta if Kafka or whoever's running the offense has to put their game plan together before the game. Stick with it a little bit longer than a half a quarter, please. It seems like they panic and they let it go, and then they start doing these quick passes with no gains, and like you guys were saying before, no slants. It's very frustrating to watch this team play sometimes.
Spartan, shouldn't Breida be able to carry the ball more than 4 times?
Yeah,
I think so. I mean, look, in my opinion, is he as good as a running back as Saquon? No, but, we talk about this quite often, Craig. People say Super Bowl winning teams don't have elite running backs. That's true, but they usually have good running games. And you're telling me you couldn't have figured out some sort of way to make plays with Breida or at least get a few yards here and there?
Yeah, look at the Cardinals did at Dallas. They ran the ball down their throats.
Yeah. Or what the Saints have done without Kamara these early weeks. They're down to their 3rd string running. I know they ended up losing the game because Carr got hurt on Sunday. But these teams figure out a way without their running backs. It's why the running back position is devalued.
Yeah,
the freaking Chargers just beat the Vikings without Austin Eckler, and they put up like 60 points without him. Yeah. All these other big running back teams, I guess other than the Titans, if they're not without Derrick Henry, they figure it out. The Browns without Nick Chubb, what'd they just do? They just crushed the Titans. You figure it out.
By the way, Cold says Shaun is smashing that sandwich. Just wanted to throw that out.
I am. So this is usually the time I eat late dinners now that I'm doing afternoon drive. So I usually get off the train. My wife has something ready for me. So it's Meatball Hero. So the stomach was grumbling. So I didn't want to be rude. I hate to talk on a podcast, but I needed to freaking eat.
You're showing you guys right now. We want you to enjoy yourself, and we're glad to have you.
You're making me hungry, Shaun.
I'm sorry, Mike. The truth is, this is a good sandwich.
My question is, again, so we got an issue. One is, Shaun, do we need Dable to call the plays? And then second to that conversation is, let's say he doesn't. Why are guys even Bellinger was your guy last year? So I look up the snap count, right? Bellinger had 30 snaps, okay? Listen, this is where this kind of stuff drives me crazy. I'm sorry to pontificate and go off the rails, but
you pontificate. You go ahead and pontificate. It's fine.
So that's why I love you guys, right? They have 50 offensive snaps, okay? 50. Bellinger he's in on 30 of the 50, right?
By the way, with your offensive line hurt, he should be helping you out in some max protect situations and stuff.
Yes, but they throw to him one time, right? So you're asking yourself, so you're basically making him a designated tackle. He's only there to block, and he was a pretty good pass catcher for you last year. Why are they not leaking him out? Why are they not letting him rub and throwing him in the flat?
I thought they would use him more in like fullback sets too, where he had a couple of those plays later in the year last year where he would leak out of the fullback, catch passes, whatever. Like, he's versatile. Yep. Adding Darren Waller shouldn't have taken away from Daniel Bellinger. It should have been an asset that you're able to kind of fool teams in double tight end sets, and he can help your tackles out. I'm totally with you. especially if you want to run the ball, he's got to be on the field, but he's not just a run block. You saw him with the soft hands. And when I was at camp a couple times, I mean, he was like the guy, it felt like, where they would run these short little routes and catch a couple passes in the end zone, in red zone. So I don't know if they're just not in the red zone enough to use him the way they want to use him, but he should absolutely be used more. There's no doubt about it.
And let me say this real quick. I don't know if you guys have seen, but somebody brought it up on Twitter that how good Daniel Jones is at a play action versus at a general shotgun. Staggering to me. And they haven't really run any play action whatsoever, which, by the way, even with Saquon, they weren't doing. Why wouldn't you do that with Saquon? You have a star running back. You could easily fool some of the players.
They did it in the second half versus Arizona, which was the best half of offensive football they played.
Why did they not go back after that Arizona game and say what we did today in the second half?
Barkley. They're scared of doing this stuff with Barkley. They're scared nobody's going to bite on the run. But again, there's ways to run the ball, and they're not being creative with it.
Well,
stay within your system. That's what
Mike, you're so right. You're so right. They abandon ship on the system the moment a player goes down. And speaking of that, by the way, you want to talk about Kafka Dable? I will withhold judgment. Andrew Thomas's ass better be on the field on Monday night. And then I don't want to hear that they don't have trust in getting a pass off and worrying about the blind side. He's paid like one of the top left tackles in football. He is one of the top left tackles in football. That, to me, run, pass, whatever. If you got to make sure everything's run to the left side, go do it. And if maybe this was all just not trusting Azudu the last two games, but let's go here. Andrew Thomas, one of the best in the game. I don't care about the rest of the offensive line. You should get some trust to be able to run some of these plays.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm fully behind it. Like, let's go shove it down somebody's throat. You know what I mean? Like, if it ain't, like, just let me see what Brady could do with 15 carries. Put Bellinger in at the H-back, and let's just go right at whatever they need to do. I mean, because right now, what they're doing isn't working. What are we talking about? We're outscored something like 87 points in the first 8 quarters.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a lot to unpack there. You know, the offense isn't on the field enough. A lot of 3 and outs, but at the end of the day, like you said, there's a lot of football to play, but not if they're going to go at it the way they're going at it.
Oh, no doubt about it. That's why Seattle's enormous. See, I'm not hitting the panic button yet, because I still believe that last year wasn't a mirage, and I think the talent on the field is still better this year. I still trust coaching and all of that. But certain guys can't be hurt, and I guess one of those guys is Barkley, but it's most certainly Thomas, and I would, to another extent, Bredesen, for this team to function as an offense. This is a different weight class. Seattle is a team where the Giants should be right at that level, if not better. And frankly, they should have beat them last year if Richie James knew how to field freaking punts. I mean, let's face it. I mean, and Seattle was struggling with Andy Dalton until they finally pulled away in this game. San Francisco and Dallas, we knew were going to be tough matchups based on their defensive fronts. This team should be able to take a deep breath with 12 days off, and there should be none of this garbage when they take the field versus Seattle, acting like Geno Smith and the Seahawks are some kind of crown champion that they don't belong on the field with.
Can we see urgency, though, in the first quarter? Come out and play like you're pissed off.
Right. And how about take a shot deep early in the game?
Yes.
Jamal Adams is finally playing a game. He hasn't played in over a year. Test him at safety a little bit.
Go for it.
Send Seattle a message on that first drive, like the classic Giants would do with Eli to Plax or something like that. Soften a defense early. Oh, wow, they're going to take a shot like this. It changes everything. If they come out 3-yard pass to Paris Campbell, Breida for 3 yards, something like that, you're just telling the defense up. Everything we've seen on tape still holds true. Bring everybody in. No, soften them early in this game and be aggressive.
Yeah.
Just go like the high first play. Do a 60 yards here.
Yeah. Or Waller for 35, something like that. And by the way, can these guys catch passes too? I know that was an overthrow to Waller. I get it. Guys, you saw it with San Francisco. Guys make plays where the ball's 3 yards behind them all the time. If Daniel Jones isn't putting the ball in the numbers, nobody makes a catch on this team. It's driving me insane. You're allowed to make catches that aren't perfectly thrown, where we have to identify and criticize the quarterback with every pass that isn't caught. My God.
It's so true. We've gotten to this point where the quarterback literally must dial up the perfect pass at the perfect.
It's crazy. Like, it's crazy. Their margin is so small that finally Daniel Jones has a bad throw, and it's like, see, he can't make the throws. Well, hold on. We got the ball for only 18 minutes in the game. The other team has the ball for 42 minutes. Can somebody make it? Gary Brightwell right in his breadbasket. There's so many, all 3 of these interceptions. Everybody drops a pass. I can't take it. Catch the freaking ball.
And again, I don't, not to continue to give him credit, but like Chad Johnson was going on about Waller's great. How about using him on the outside of the field? All they do is run him in the middle of the field.
Like they're just running the same place for Daniel Bellinger.
Yep. It's literally like
Now you
They're,
get
they're
me high
popping
pitched.
on the they're popping on the tape, and they're like, "Oh, the Giants are going to do the same thing they did the last 3 weeks."
Crazy, man.
I mean, Waller literally runs the same route every single time. Why not roll Jones out and hit Waller in the flat? Whoa! What about a screen pass? Remember how Plax and Toomer used to do the wide receiver screens down the line of scrimmage? Like, for as creative as we're supposed to be, we are as vanilla. No offense to all you vanilla loving people out there. It is vanilla as it possibly could get.
And now I'm in the mood for a Frosty.
Yeah, I was going to say my Wendy's Frosty tastes a lot better than the Giants' offense.
Frosty sounds real good. Real quick, I'm just reflecting everything you guys are talking about, and you talk about Bellinger. That kid, he really should be benefiting the most out of anybody with who they added to this team. I'm thinking about what you guys said earlier. I mean, he should have like 6 catches every game because people are going to forget about him. You have Waller running down the field, and Hyatt's got to play more, I believe, too. He's got to play more.
I mean, I don't know if you guys agree with this. Sorry to keep hijacking the conversation.
So good. That's why you're here.
We should get to a point in November if Joe Shane's assets and allocations are used properly. I mean, this team should evolve. And Wan'Dale Robinson and Jalen Hyatt should be the 2 top receivers on this team, right? I mean, you used a traded up for a 3rd-round pick. You invested in the 2nd-round pick, and Wan'Dale looked all right. Like, this team should keep evolving offensively, Waller, Bellinger, but those should be the guys as the team gets cooking in the second half of the year, where if you've used the assets right at receiver, those should be your top 2 guys eventually. And I love Slayton and Hodgins, don't get me wrong, but those 2 guys got to get going.
Yeah, and Hodges thing, that's what you kind of alluded to what we did last year against Minnesota. That's what bothers me more than anything. Spartan, Hodges caught everything last year. He caught everything and was open all the time. And now he's like, it almost feels like we got too many good receivers and we're trying to give everybody the ball. It's like, how about we throw to the hot hand? If they can't stop it, keep throwing it to them. Like Slayton had 3 catches for 32 yards. If you can't stop Slayton, keep throwing Slayton the ball. And when they can't stop him, go to Hodges. I almost feel like they go and go, okay, guys, whose turn is it? Whose turn is it? Raise your hand if it's your turn. And there's and there's Wan'Dale going, me, my turn. Like, screw that. Like, I'm just so tired of seeing, like, okay, guys, it's time to get Paris Campbell the ball. What is he good at? Let's run that reverse thing. It's all like scripted crap.
Guys, your bottom line is this, Craig. Your 3 best receivers should be getting 85% of the passes.
Yeah.
Amen.
Especially when you don't have any elite ones to begin with, right?
No, but I think we have talented enough ones. You know what I'm
100%,
saying?
100%.
At least establish that. You're right. We don't have Jefferson's out there. But
yeah, it's not Marcus Johnson and Richie James. I agree with you.
But Kafka's got to run some misdirection, some crossing routes. There's no confusion. That's the play. The 49ers were not confused at any level what the Giants were doing, and they went and every third down, they went to man coverage and went, beat us.
Yeah. And they weren't intimidated. Was not even
because there's no space. Everyone's just running to a route, stopping and turning. There's no crossing routes. There's no digs. There's no sticks. You're not creating any confusion. There's not even – listen, when you don't go long, here's what you guys have to remember. There's no double moves, okay?
Yeah.
How do you get a safety or a corner to bite? It's a double move, right? Sticking in, you're going out.
They barely have time for half a move the way they get rid of the ball so quick. Yeah.
Right.
Can I ask you guys something?
Yeah.
Can I ask you guys something? Maybe I didn't see it. I watched the game. How often do the Giants go in motion, their receivers?
That was the point, that this specific game, they didn't have a lot of pre-snap movement.
Yeah.
And it was
I think they didn't trust any of the old linemen staying in their stance and not jumping if they spent all that time moving around. I'm serious.
Could be.
I know I'm not laughing at you. I just think it's pathetic, right?
Yeah, you're afraid what Bosa's going to do for you, so.
Yeah. They have no trust in any of these guys in the offensive line, but, I mean, it's been 10 years of this nonsense. Enough.
Kafka's not looking great to me, says Jay. He definitely does not adjust well. I'll say that.
Yeah. Coach is scared.
He looked good at the end of last year. At the end of last year, his offensive coordination really came together well. I mean, the Vikings game, the Colts game, I like that. Obviously, the Eagles game, that was just a mess, but, it's a tough matchup. I thought he would come into this season with that same fire and, skill set that he did ending last season. He hasn't done that yet.
I'm telling you, I don't think he trusts pass protection at all. Man. I think he got in a groove of trusting it down the line. They got blown up in that Dallas game early, and they haven't had Andrew Thomas since. And Bredesen, basically most of it. I don't think he trusts it at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like a different team. And now I'm like, okay, well, if you're gonna lose, go out trying. like you guys are limping out of these games, and I'm like, for the love of God,
They better do more than trying a week from now. It better
Craig,
not be
Craig,
Yeah.
Craig, look at the comment down there. Suggestion by Bobby Skinner.
listen, Bobby's lost his mind, dude. If I'm gonna put it up here because it's funny, but like, I love Bob. You know, Bobby, you know I love you, dude. But I'll blow an ACL even thinking about putting pads back on. I literally
Bobby.
put pads on and I just.
Oh, Bobby Skinner's up in here.
Yes, Bobby jumped in.
What up,
Jeez.
Bobby?
I'm
Well,
gonna
Shaun,
go
let
to-
me ask you something. Let me ask you a question that's a billion years old at this point, has existed now for 15% of the Giants' entire franchise history because of how long this freaking offensive line's been bad. But what is it? Why are we so bad after all these years and the Giants can't fix the offensive line? What is it? Is it coaching? Or are they just?
Well, I mean, I
missing players?
can't blame it on coaching. They just keep missing. Now, to be fair, they didn't miss on Andrew Thomas. They actually coached up and developed Ben Bredesen. Remember, he looked like he was going to be a bust of a last move there.
Yeah.
And he's got to stay healthy. I like John Michael Schmitz. We hope that he turns out to be all right. It's a pretty big deal when they can't figure out right guard. Maybe McKeithen does develop into that.
They're all young.
And yeah, they're all young. I'm not ready to throw out Evan Neal at right tackle yet, but it's very evident that he is not as, quick paced as, Tristan Wirfs was coming out of college on the right side of the line. In theory, on an individual basis, you give time for the center. You're fine on the left side. It's the right side of the line. They had Glowinski coming into the year. Let's see if McKeithen can develop if they stick with him, or does it become a Zudu now at right guard? It's going to come back to Evan Neal. Is Evan Neal a turnstile or can he ball out? And if he could figure this out, and he's only up to 16 games played in his career, so now he's basically
Give him 2 years at least. Yep.
You hope that what you're seeing now isn't what you're seeing in November and December. But in the meantime, you don't want to lose too many games now. You need to stash a couple in the pocket as the team evolves down the stretch and becomes a better team, hopefully, as the season goes on.
It's just crazy because you look at the offensive linemen that they did sign, but we'll sign Soldier and Glowinski, and they actually played okay in their previous teams. They come here and they suck.
Because it ends up being, realize they're probably the worst players on good O-lines, and we're just taking products from good O-lines.
Yeah, it is disheartening it's smart. It's a great question because it's disheartening that year after year we just miss on these cats. Yeah. And you're like, listen, here's the thing about Neal that I can see. Again, I never, I don't know crap about being an O-lineman, but at least from the eyeball test he's not, and this word doesn't go with O-lineman normally, but I know Spartan, I've said this earlier, he's not twitchy enough. And what I mean by that is he can't recover after making a mistake. When you watch Thomas make a mistake, he can still kick back and still catch Parsons and get and either move him deep or push him down. Neal's always bending at the waist. He's hinging at the waist. He's lunging. He doesn't have that twitch, that fast twitch muscle to recover. He's done. They ought to kick him in the inside. I know that's easy for me to say, okay, but we all hated Flowers, and then Flowers got kicked to guard, and you were like, oh.
Yeah, he ended up being good for about 8 games in Washington. Then he went back to sucking. But yeah, I do see your point.
Eight games better than what we have right
and
now.
By the way, Justin Pugh ended up being a better guard for the Giants than he was a tackle. It's entirely plausible.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just it's really hard. That's why you were saying about Bellinger going to playing some fullback, some H-back. Right now we don't have Barkley, but Breida shows it's not I almost feel like we don't have a backup running back. Breida can still run the ball 15 times.
Right. Absolutely can.
Run a heavy package, put Bellinger in there and get upfield. To your point is, why don't you let the pros make some guys miss? Other teams do it.
No, I'm far from an offensive guru, but I don't know why the H-back is slowly being phased out. I don't understand that. Especially by the Giants. I don't understand that.
Are quicker. They want to get the ball out of your hand faster.
The Niners play with Juszczyk, and they seem to have a pretty damn good offense. So.
Exactly.
True.
Play within your system, I don't know. I just think I like the old-time Giants. Let's control the ball, run it down their throats, play great D.
Yeah, well, that's never happening again.
So much hope and cheerfulness on the show.
I'm just saying, look, we all know the game is dynamic now. It's about going downfield, but we don't go downfield. Right. So I think to Shaun's original point is stop worrying about it. Jones throws an interception. QBs throw interceptions all the time. Stop
Brett Favre threw a
babying,
lot of them.
stop babying
Yes.
the dude and let him throw the ball down the field.
You could
Stop
throw the ball,
playing
but have a
not to
more
lose
balance.
and then
Balance your
lose.
offense out.
Go ahead, Truth. What'd you say? I'm sorry.
I don't mean to interrupt. I just have a more balanced offense. That's how I feel. That play good defense in the trenches. That's what I think wins games and championships.
And I was just going to say this: stop coaching and playing to not lose, because you're just going to lose anyway when you come out.
Well, let's
That's
wrap
good
this up.
advice.
Where do the Giants, Shaun, got to do to beat Seattle? Because we already know that like Geno's caught fire the last 2 years. What do they got to do to beat him?
Well, first of all, the big problem I found with the Niners was time of possession. Kenneth Walker can absolutely chew clock on you. Do not let them just ram it down your throats where Kenneth Walker's walking up and down all day and then lull you to sleep and there's Metcalf or Lockett being broken for big plays.
Yep.
You got to get off the field on third down. Do not let them convert. And better yet, this is easier said than done. Don't allow Kenneth Walker to go for 6 yards a pop on first down carries and put yourself in those situations. Kenneth Walker, to me, swallow him up. Prove that you've made improvements in the run defense. I think this is a big test for that. And on the flip side, offensively, it's a fast start. It's a fast start. I trust that the Giants can move the ball in Seattle's defense. They absolutely can. This is not the same kind of defensive front. You got to get off to a fast start, though. You don't want to be playing from behind where suddenly they're abandoning whatever they play. Whether it's a big play, just moving the chains, end with 7 to start the game instead of 3. I think that can make all the difference in the world for the confidence in this team.
What's Tiki thinking?
It's funny. Tiki usually gives me like a nice Thursday play on it, but I think he's still pretty confident in the Giants. He really is. He's actually not a Debbie Downer on it at all. He loves Daniel Jones. He doesn't think they have any trust either in the blocking up front right now. But again, we're going to wait to get this injury report on like Thursday. I would be stunned if Andrew Thomas is not playing in this game.
Stunned. I mean, 12 days. Yeah.
Right. You know what I mean? He took the field in Arizona, to test it before warm-ups. That you get Andrew Thomas, but he's the best player on the Giants. It's not sexy. He plays left tackle. It just changes that. I think it changes the coaching mindset too. They'll be able to at least call some plays with some freaking confidence.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, because they're going to need that game. Because if you go down on that game, you got to really.
Yeah, Miami just dropped 70 points. I'm really going to look forward to that at 1-3.
Jesus,
Spartan, you got anything for me?
No, I mean the what I really don't want the Giants to do, because if they do this, I guarantee you we're going to lose, is go down 2 scores. We don't really have the capabilities on offense to equip ourselves against a team like Seattle.
And they'll get tight.
Like that. What's that?
I think they'll get tight again if they're down 2 scores and go, oh no, after 12 days off, here we are.
They'll panic. They'll panic.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yep.
Absolutely. Because but again, if Seattle sheds first blood, we're already fighting from behind. Then we go out there with a conservative, crappy, curl dump off offense.
Right.
And then when it's 3 and out, we punt, big booming punt. We all cheer and clap hands. And, then they go out there and convert.
Right. Then on 3rd and 7, Tyler Lockett catches a 32-yard pass and boom.
Right. And it's the same crap. We stop him in the red zone. Then, personal foul, player misconduct.
Oh my God. Jeez, it's a week away and you already painted the picture.
You're killing me.
I wrote the whole script
man.
today. I didn't do any work. I just sat there with the typewriter.
Instead that I closed my eyes and I totally envisioned that entire thing.
I know. I was thinking the
all
same
right,
thing.
secrets out, guys. I write the NFL scripts. I am a writer and contributor to the NFL scripts.
I just got a hangover without ever drinking. I was like, oh.
Yeah, you know why? Because you can imagine everything I literally just said, because we freaking.
Because you've seen it before. That's why.
Yeah. All right. Here's a question for you, and then we'll wrap this up. Shaun? How big of a gap is this between Barkley and McCaffrey? And the reason why I'm asking, I know. The reason why I'm asking is, I know that Cat is a machine. I know McCaffrey is a machine, but they use them in such creative ways. Yeah. Why can't we do that with Barkley?
McCaffrey's a better player. He is a better player, flat out.
How big the gap?
It doesn't mean, mid-size. I think he's head and shoulders the best running back in football. I think, just like the Giants told him, Barkley is a lot closer to Derrick Henry and Nick Chubb than he is Christian McCaffrey. Like it or not. And frankly, look, we've overrated Saquon a little bit in his pass catching ability. We just have. Now, he's made plays out of the backfield. I'd hope so, catching the ball. But he's not a consistent pass catcher. His hands can be very iffy. His route running, not that I'm steam studying every route. you can just see like there is just a noticeable difference. Now, where they are similar is both guys are very injury prone. Right now, McCaffrey's in a good run of not getting hurt, but that is the difference. He's not on McCaffrey's level as far as splitting out, being used as a receiver like that. It's just completely different.
Because like when Odell was here, right? Barkley was throwing him the ball. They had
now to be fair, Christian McCaffrey now has Deebo Samuel as George Kittle. Like we don't see any of that with the Giants. You know what I mean?
That's a great. Okay, that makes me feel better because I'm like, why don't we split them out? Why don't we run them in motion? Like to me, they should be putting Barkley in all these different.
And when was he at his best? When he had Odell Beckham Jr. Right? So it matters. It matters.
All right, Truth. You got anything before I wrap this up?
Well, I'm going to be a traditionalist here, and each of you guys make good points about what the Giants need to do. But for me, it all starts with the trenches. If the Giants can't control that line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, it'll make everything else a little easier for them to execute.
Well, yeah, well, of course. I like
that's vanilla. I was being vanilla.
But you're right. You're right.
I like what's his name who came in and played against Arizona for Bredesen. Not like Golinsky got benched.
Oh, Ethan?
Yeah.
I think he's the real deal.
I'm impressed.
I think he's the real deal, guys. I think another year we're not going to even more think about him. He's going to be cemented in that line.
At this point, keep letting him play. Although if everybody's healthy, you almost have to let Azudu play a guard. You just have to. But
okay, but can I ask one thing? Can we just send Shane Lemieux to the moon? Like just put him in bubble wrap him, give him an oxygen tank, and just launch him. Yeah. I don't care how much it costs. I'll get a little.
Don't give him an oxygen tank.
The most stunning part about Shane Lemieux's effort on Thursday was that he came out of it healthy.
Oh my god. Well,
I never want to say this, but I kind of wish he didn't. Oh, all right, now delete the episode. Right, we're moving from the playlist. I never said that. My HR manager's not going to be happy with me.
Well, thanks for watching another episode of Giants Rush. Wednesday, we'll be doing the breakdown, the preview of Giants in Seattle. You know I'm not there, but they're there because I'm too old to do 2 shows a week. But thanks for hanging out with us. Make sure you're tuning into the fan because we finally have a Giants fan there to represent. Now we've got Shaun and Tiki, right? So we finally got some representation in the house. So all you old school fans that left, you should come back. Make sure you're tuning in the fan. Wednesday night is just 8 o'clock. I think Alex and Chris, or maybe Truth. Who's on Wednesday?
I think Chris and Alex, right?
Yeah, and we're gonna wish Spartan a happy wedding this weekend. Getting married.
Good luck, Spartan. Good luck.
Congrats.
Yeah,
a little bit of a fraud getting married in football season, but congrats.
Listen.
I see you wears the pants, bro.
No, we chose this, by the way, strategically. I'm also a Michigan State Spartan. It was a bye week in the schedule 2 years ago.
Okay.
They rescheduled, and now they're playing Iowa as a night game. So that was why. But the Giants schedule wasn't released yet, so I couldn't work around it.
Right. Spartan, I was in East Lansing for the last 4 days. I just got home today.
Yeah.
And watched Maryland kick the crap out of us.
Craig. We're a basketball school. Forget the 10 years where we had D'Antonio and we actually won Big Ten championships. We are a
all right. Well, Izzo was there, and I gave him a fist pound, and it was all good. So
that's actually pretty cool. We got to talk about that.
It is very, very cool. We will talk. And I met Hoggart's. Is it Hoggart? I met his mom and dad at the airport.
Oh, right,
yeah. Thanks for watching another episode of Giants Rush. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you check out WFAN. We got people in the house. Peace.